Get ready for truth and transparency from an ocean of liberal tears. Welcome to the Blue Shark Show with your host, Mike Lang.
Great to have everybody back today. 4th of July weekend. Hey, happy 4th of July. John in the studio, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Mike. Say, you know what? Biden sucks. America rocks. And if you don't like that, get out of here.
There you go. That's straightforward and to the point. We got Nate in the studio. How you doing, Nate?
Good, Mike. Good. Just went out to the square yesterday. You know, they're having that big Independence Day celebration. And did meet a pretty cool artist out there. Got some art.
Glad you had fun. And 4th of July is coming up, everybody. Please celebrate because we are free and independent country, right? We have a constitution, everything like that. And that kind of brings up something that I want to start with, and it's Chucky. In New York City, you got to love New York City, right? And let's just roll this clip.
Oh, give me my f***ing bag. What is wrong with you? What the f*** are you doing? Get off of me. What are you doing? Get off of me. Get off of me. Get off of me. What's wrong with you? What's going on this f***ing train? I'm so...
So we got Chucky on the subway trying to get some lady's purse and grab onto her leg and hold her. And then we've got, looks like 15 people with their phones out recording the whole thing. And at the end, somebody finally grabs little Chucky and pulls his little wig off, I guess, right?
Well, this must be fake news because, you know, New York is a liberal utopia. So I don't know what they're trying to spin here, but obviously this isn't true.
Yeah, their public transportation system, for one, is grade A. I think everyone agrees that the subways of New York are both clean and safe.
I just like watching these little clips because only in New York, you know, I don't know. I haven't done the research on this and see, you know, who this actually was or, you know, if it was man, woman, child, whatever it is. But
probably just somebody doing a prank, it looked like, but...
Yeah.
Well, wait a second. You know, remove this situation and put this in, let's say, a different state like North Dakota or Wyoming or Texas, and we're going to have a severely different outcome, wouldn't you think?
Well, I don't know. You know, if you're talking about everyone in the background pulling their phone out and recording.
Well, I would hope you'd have someone, you know, in a more reasonable state step in and not just watch this person try to chew on somebody else.
I think for so long, though, in some of the liberal...
More of a gnaw.
Yeah. Some of the liberal, you know, cities, major cities, you know, New York, L.A., Chicago, that you get the people, they don't want to get involved because it could be one person, then two, then three, and all of a sudden you got 10 people chasing you. And we've seen that in demonstrations on the street, and, you know, they go after cars and people, so...
Lest we forget the face being chewed off incident, you know, years ago. So it's nothing new in these liberal towns to have these.
Now, the face being chewed off, was that Florida man that did that?
Oh, no. Was there more than one?
I think so. It was somebody in Florida that was, I guess, high on bath salts or some type of like fake crack stuff, and the cops rolled up and he was chewing this dude's face off.
Oh, man.
Out there
Hannibal?
in the alley.
It was
Yeah,
Hannibal stuff.
stuff.
Yeah. It wasn't Clarice. Was it?
Hello, Clarice.
You can't put limits on Florida, man. I mean, come on. That eclipses pretty much any state or political view. It's Florida, man.
Oh, Florida man. Infamous.
That's right. Hey, let's look at Biden. You know, Joe Biden, from the Hill, this is from the Hill, 71% don't want Biden to run for re-election again. Can you imagine that? Of course, he wants to run, right? So who's going to step up and run in the Democrat Party?
Are you telling me that 71% of people, the same people that voted to give Joe Biden the most votes ever in history in a presidential election, are you saying those same people don't want him to run for re-election?
That's just what this poll is saying. And, you know, 71% is pretty darn high. And I think, you know, the vice president, Kamala Harris, is just a little bit below that. So the Dems are going to have to come up with somebody to start running against, well, I hope they don't, but somebody running against a Republican.
Well, the Hill is the quintessential, you know, establishment paper in D.C. So to me, this is like the establishment in D.C. with the red blaring lights telling the Democrats, y'all are in a serious hole. You better start looking now, and you better start looking for some fresh blood because that, you know, his vampire days are almost over.
And when you have CNN and the Hill and all these liberal media outlets going after him and the vice president, they got to see the writing on the wall.
You know, maybe he's just not progressive enough for him.
I don't know if that's the case, being progressive, but just look how he is. Let's roll the tape from the summit in Madrid and how he talks about the Supreme Court while he's overseas and the decision that was made for Roe v. Wade.
The one thing that has been destabilizing is the outrageous behavior of the Supreme Court of the United States in overruling not only Roe v. Wade, but essentially challenging the right to privacy. We've been a leader in the world in terms of personal rights and privacy rights, and it is a mistake, in my view, for the Supreme Court to do what it did.
So once again, he's on foreign soil talking about the Supreme Court basically being illegitimate, decision on this, and it doesn't stop with these people. It just doesn't stop. I mean, whether it's on foreign soil or here.
Well, and they're just going to keep making excuses for him, no matter what. And we've seen this time and time again. I mean, they can't help themselves but to take up for the guy, even though they know he makes all of them look like a clown. They keep doing it.
Well, he's become the kind of the leftist de facto sin eater. He is the chief and only spear catcher that they're willing to roll out there to take on the wrath that is the rest of the country. Kamala, she gets given assignments and she just ducks out and says, like, peace, I'm out of here, and leaving him behind to clean up the garbage. And he can't even clean his own behind after going, to the bathroom. So I don't know where the left goes from here. It's almost like grab the popcorn, guys, because this is going to be fun.
71%. Remember that poll, 71%. And I'm surprised he didn't even mention the other decision by the Supreme Court, and that's about the Green New Deal and, of course, the Obama-era Clean Air Act. And you've got to go from there, and we're talking about carbon emissions and everything. So that's a smackdown for the EPA in saying, look, you guys don't make the laws, and your regulations, man, they're basically unconstitutional. You need to go back to the drawing board, which is great for the oil industry, the gas industry, because all these people with these electric cars and battery-operated cars, because they're battery, not basically electric, they store electricity. So all these people with battery-operated cars, where do they get their power from? Coal plants, things like that. So, this smackdown from SCOTUS is pretty big on this Green New Deal.
And now that's the EPA versus West Virginia case, right?
Right.
Okay, so I was looking at that, and it's kind of cool. People are saying that, and these are, judicial type people saying that this ruling is actually going to carry over to all the other alphabet agencies. So if the ATF, for example, said, hey, you can't import Saiga shotguns from Russia anymore because that wasn't passed through the legislature like you're talking about with the Green New Deal stuff, but it's null and void.
It was real fascinating to watch kind of the rollout of this decision and watch the left's response. Because initially I was waiting on this decision to come down because it was one of the last to come down of this session for the Supreme Court, and it comes out, and of course the right immediately comes out and says, eyes bulging, oh my gosh, this is a huge decision, right, and the reverberations are huge. The left immediately comes out and says, no, this is a very limited decision, very specific, and it wasn't like 24 hours after the decision. I turned on MSNBC just to get an idea of how hair on fire they were. And I was actually quite surprised they weren't hair on fire. They were actually very somber, because to me, this isn't like Roe v. Wade that they're going to play it up hair on fire. They actually see this as the slicing of the throat to the administrative state that we've been saddled with, in what's going to happen when we start getting other challenges to things like the ATF or the Department of Education or Department of Labor, or name your alphabet agency in the federal government. My God, what did the Supreme Court just hand us?
That it's an administrative state, and you're just curbing right there. They curb the unelected bureaucrats of all these agencies. And look out, because that's going to have repercussions throughout all those agencies.
This is going to cease. It's going to stop a lot of people within the government's function in their role. When you repeal these regulations, you don't need all the enforcers, the people that go shut down your guitar factory or, whatever else for some BS regulations, and it's like it's just the way it should have been. Kind of like Roe v. Wade going back.
The
to
left
the
is
states.
already saying, well, kind of what's the point to having an EPA? Woo!
Exactly. Yeah.
Welcome to our world. Welcome to my world.
Because every state has their own, basically, EPA. So what do we need them for? Like the Department of Education. What do we need them for, too? Every state has their own. So, this is great ruling, and I'd like to see further where this goes. And you're right, Nate. The administrative state, like a local level, you take it down to, minimalization of it. And you're talking everything from the school board, where you don't need all the administrative people to work on all the things that are passed down through the federal government.
Unfunded mandates.
Yeah. Oh, unfunded mandates. We can't have those. But that's, it has repercussions from local all the way up to the feds. And this is a good thing that we're seeing, because now that opens up, and even the oil and gas, look at those companies that say, ooh, are we getting closer maybe to drilling more? Are we getting closer to, having more factories, all that. So this is a good thing.
What I see this really as is this is bringing to light kind of the BS that is leftist law and policy that they pass, because they pass these overarching laws that sound really good. We want clean water for the children. We want it for the children.
It's always for the
We want
children.
clean air for the children. But they don't ever actually build in regulations into these laws that let the American people see exactly what they're trying to accomplish. So then they just write the flowery language, they pass it, and then they pass it off to the EPA. And then that's where the devil is. The devil is in the details, and the EPA takes these grand, lofty, but yet BS laws that are passed, and then they put their thumb on the American, economy and the American people. And then you take that same concept and apply it to the other agencies.
Every other agency.
And then
Right.
but you know what? But we're the land of the free, right?
Man,
Right. It's that unelected bureaucrat that are making those decisions, and that's that reversal we have. And you talk about, the reversal on the court and having 5-3 decisions or 6, or 5-4 and 6-3 decisions. What about Justice Roberts? Man, he used to be like the pin right in the middle. And he kind of had the power of which way would he go. But now with this new court, he's basically
Sell
through.
out.
Yeah, he's through.
He's Souter 2.0. David Souter, appointed a long time ago, immediately turned into the liberal, and he was kind of the poster child of this is what happens when Republicans nominate people to the Supreme Court. But I read a book back about 20 years ago, actually written by by Rudman from the Graham-Rudman Act back in the 80s, talking about hey, they tricked George Bush, the first president, George Bush. They actively tricked him to appoint David Souter to the Supreme Court, and they weren't even hiding it. So it begs the question: at what level, when you get people like Roberts on the court, is it really, oh gosh darn it, they got us again, or is it just we're going to sell them another frickin' rhino onto the court?
Both, because you have Roberts, who was an incremental guy, and I hear that a lot from the squishes, I call them, or furniture, or whatever.
Moderates,
yeah, in the state legislature and establishment. There's so many
rhino
names.
hacks.
Yeah. And we're looking at somebody that, we've got to do things incrementally. Even if they're wrong, we have to do things well, no. And, I think Roberts even said something about, we can't do that because that will be a jolt to the system for, Roe v. Wade. Well, you know what? They got their jolt, didn't they?
Rip that Band-Aid off. It's been too long on there. And
Since when has the left been worried about doing things gently and easily for the right?
Never.
It's just bend over and take it is what it's been.
Yeah.
If you like the show, you like what we're doing, please go to thebluesharkshow.com and sign up for our member-only access at $4 a month. Thank you. Then we have the advisor to Biden, one of them. And this guy's name is Brian Dees. And, of course,
Hang on, he has advisors? I thought he was just winging this.
no. Well, he kind of is on his own. But they give him a note card so he can read. And And it's funny, it's not just a note card of the points, but it's walk in, sit here.
Address this person.
Yeah, say hello to Bob.
Why don't they just add that to his program? You would think that would just be a couple more lines of code, right?
Zuckerberg's working on the neural transmitter still.
Yeah.
It's still giving him some issues.
71%, right? 71% don't want
Most
him
votes in
president.
history.
Yeah. So we have, Brian Deese, the advisor, supposed advisor, and, he used to work for BlackRock as the global sustainable investor, right?
Nothing suspicious there at all.
Oh, no. BlackRock, no.
Deep
Nothing
State?
sustainable.
No, not that place.
So he goes on and he starts talking in one of his quotes, and, he's just out here saying it, and that's exactly what he's saying because they say this every day on the Marxist left. This is about the future of the liberal world order, and we have to stand firm. Let's listen to the video.
What do you say to those families who say, listen, we can't afford to pay $4.85 a gallon for months, if not years. This is just not sustainable.
Well, what you heard from the president today was a clear articulation of the stakes. This is about the future of the liberal world order, and we have to stand firm.
So there's D's with the new liberal world order. I've heard it, the world order, but now it's the liberal world order. So, the Marxists are moving along,
Because the New World Order is so blasé. For 25, 30 years, they called Alex Jones nuts for there's no New World Order. You're crazy. You're making that stuff up. And they've only been admitting openly the New World Order, except when it slipped, for a few years now. And here we are. They're already rebranding it now. It's the New World Order. That just doesn't do it justice anymore. It's now the liberal world order.
It has to be.
That's too late 90s. You can't go around saying New World Order anymore.
They're taking away that connotation of, the world order being bad, but if they add that word liberal.
Well, it's kind of like the United Nations. Who could be against the United Nations?
United, right?
Let's just call it the puppy world order.
Green world peace.
He says something like liberal world order, which I admit that I've never heard before. I'm sure it was on a 4 a.m. fax or email to the media to expect that phrase. But the incuriousness of the CNN reporter, again, is just typical, fake news left. You don't follow up a question with wow, what are you actually trying to say by liberal world order? Would you expand on that for us? That would be a reasonable question to be asked, but I'm sure there's a complete incuriousness by the CNN reporter.
I think it comes about through, this D's guy that, hey, they're talking about gas prices going up to $6, $7, $8 a gallon. And, they're all trying to explain on the Biden side that it's because of Ukraine and we have to, fund Ukraine. And
Russia,
it's all
Russia,
about,
Russia.
Problem. There's your problem. And I think that's kind of the form they're going under of, that's the reason. But we all have to just get along and do this for the liberal world order because we're all in this together. And that's where this guy from BlackRock is coming from, right?
Just Googled liberal world order. You brought up a good point. I've never really heard that phrase before today. Type liberal world order into Google on your phone, and one of the first links to pop up for me is an article on the councilofforeignrelations.org website that says global governance. What is the liberal world order? Here's your talking points. CFR right there on their website. This looks like a newer
Hold on, Nate. Hold on.
article.
The CFR, they're actually good because, that would just be another, crazy conspiracy right-wing whack job thing to say that that is.
Oh, no.
that's
Now
evil.
we're going to be a conspiracy show, right?
Hey,
no.
Oh, man, another
You get all
conspiracy.
these warlords, arms suppliers, political opportunists. You get them all together, and you never know what you can hammer out.
Oh,
Look
no,
at what they
Nate.
did with COVID.
Nate, are you Alex Nate now?
COVID was a hoax. I mean, it was
Here we go.
intentional. So
The new COVID's coming up, too. Yeah.
fortunately, we ridiculed the last one. Was it monkeypox?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone started making fun of it before it got up and going, and they just dropped it.
They'll be back.
And now we have a little segment that unfortunately we have to do that we've never should have, ever been doing, but we've got Your Government in Transition. So let's just start with Sam Brinton, and he is Assistant Secretary to the Department of Energy. Now, Sam's out there on Twitter, and he's talking about, gender fluid things and how he's, a gender fluid kind of guy.
How much does gender fluid
I don't
cost?
know. I don't know. Where do you put it?
That's a great question.
So you got to buy it.
You know, you just have, look at the picture. It's a normal professional, educated professional. I don't.
Well, you know,
There's nothing weird about this picture.
No, let's take a look at this picture. Now, this is a guy, gender, woman. I don't know what he is or what they claim to be.
Wait. What pronoun? There has to be a pronoun in the
At least
in
one.
in the Twitter profile.
Who knows? I mean, I don't know anymore because one thing's wrong and the other thing's right. And it just depends on what day it is. But
if you don't think that's a beautiful woman, you are a bigot.
How do you know it identifies as a woman?
I don't know. Look at the
it's
shoes, though. It is the 4th of July weekend. So look at the shoes. I mean, you've got the high heel block. I don't know what you call them, Nate. Do you know? I mean, you're a little bit younger. So, I mean, you got.
I don't know. The heel
but I mean-
looks really short. Maybe he's standing on his tiptoes or something.
He?
Or she. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Don't cancel me.
All right. This is your government in transition.
Lex
We're just trying to
Luthor
learn.
meets Lois Lane. I mean, I don't.
Well, remember, this is the Office of Nuclear Energy and Department of Energy. So
At least it's not important.
no,
It's just the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Spent Fuel and Waste Disposition.
Right.
Well,
it's
that's
not
all right.
important.
It being the 4th of July weekend, I just thought we'd show this because, you know, those shoes are pretty
Fabulous.
well, I guess you could call them nice, right?
Yeah.
In case you're wondering, The Hunger Games was a documentary. Okay, you don't have to look any further than those pictures to realize that, right?
Yeah.
That's right. We do have government in transition, and we've talked about Richard Levine. And, Richard's on the DNC Pride Month video.
Gender-affirming care is life-saving, medically necessary, age-appropriate, and a critical tool for healthcare providers. As a pediatrician, when it comes to making sure kids are healthy and happy, I know how important care that affirmed someone's true identity.
Here he is, the Assistant Secretary of Health.
Richard.
Oh, Richard.
Richard.
I thought it was Rachel.
Rachel. Well, here it is, your government in transition, and they're talking about encouraging your kids, right? Trans kids to get transgender modifications done, things like that. So he's reaching as the Department of Health.
She
is reaching, it, into your world and trying to get your kids to be okay with transgender transitions. And this is coming from your government.
This is a pediatrician. So this is a doctor who likes and prefers and who spent the majority of his professional time around your children.
Now, that is pretty scary. Just that image of him. Could you imagine walking into your doctor's office with a youngin', and then that's your doctor?
I know. I mean, that's why we're showing part of this stuff is so people will wake up.
Yeah, transition your kids for their own benefit. You know, and too many of these parents are doing this just like to get some cool points with their, colleagues and whatnot. Oh, well, I have a kid that's gay. Oh, really? Let me one up you. I have a kid that's trans. Oh, really? Let me one up you. And it's like, how oppressed can people be?
For any young parents out there who are wondering what you can do to combat this, it's called the power button on your television. And the plug that goes into your modem that creates internet for your house, you just cut it. Don't unplug it because it can be plugged back. Just cut it. And that's going to solve that long term for your children. And you may actually be saving your children by doing that. That's a little PSA by me, by the way.
But, you can do that, but you have these government officials, and we talked about the administrative state earlier, but you have government officials like this and supposedly high ranking, and this is going to bleed down into the states. It'll bleed down into local governments, whether it's your county, but mostly it'll bleed down into the school system, your universities and your public schools. So guess what? You can turn off that TV, right? That's a good start.
They'll do it all under the guise of mental health too. That's what all of it's going to be about: mental health, child safety, equitable outcomes. That's going to be the stuff that they're aiming for with this.
Mike, are you saying there's going to be trickle-down degeneracy going on?
Still, yes, it's continuing, but it's getting worse because people need to pay attention to this, and they're trying to normalize all this, which is very abnormal. And we've talked about it before, is going, against the nuclear family, right? and he works in the Nuclear Regulatory Agency. So much for the nuclear family, right?
And you say that they've been trying to normalize this, but really, Mike, they've been very effective. If you go back and look at it generationally, it doubles every generation. What percentage of that generation identifies as LGBTQIA plus 79.34?
This is why the Supreme Court decision regarding the EPA is so important, because this is going to be our initial wedge into shutting this crap down to keep it from trickling back down.
As we go into this 4th of July weekend, we're in that recession mode, and, gas prices are high, food prices are high. And some statistics, the Dow has just hit its worst 6-month start since 1962.
Wow.
59 years, 60 years. And that's pretty big. The NASDAQ is at its worst ever, and the S&P 500 is at its worst since 1970. And, of course, all that's been before you were even born.
That's the worst in my lifetime.
Yep.
And it's crazy to think about that, here we have a country that supposedly a winning percentage of the people that voted in 2020 actually voted for this guy. We're in the worst shape we've ever. We're worse than we were before Obama, and
Most
now,
definitely.
And now it's like, is this even a contest in 2022? Are we really going to have midterms, or can the Democrats just go ahead and give up?
We're going to have a switch of hats come November, and so it just is a matter of how quickly can we recapture the wheels of government and start reversing the trend. And I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful, because as I look around, I see people who are hurting economically, but yet I see people who are still proud to be Americans. You talk to people, what are you going to spend and do on your 4th of July weekend? And I've asked some people that here over the last few days, just to kind of take the pulse. And you know what? Everyone's saying the same thing. I'm proud to be an American. I'm going to spend the time with my family. I'm going to have some barbecue. Mm-hmm. So, the core is still there. The core American is still there. So to me, it's a matter of getting this joke of a selected president out of there as quickly as we can. And until then, we're going to take the reins of power and we're going to start reversing things. And we just need to shove it down their throats. Not even apologize, but this is a bitter pill coming left. Deal with it, because it's coming. And that's the way it needs to be handled.
Rub their noses in it and make them like it. This pendulum always swings back and forth.
Make them like it, yeah.
Until they like it, yeah. And this pendulum always swings back and forth, and I just really hope that the GOP as a national party, and especially here within Texas, that they can make the gains in the areas we need to it swings this way and then it swings back that way. We have to gain as many seats as we can in this midterms, and it's going to require a lot of energy.
Both on the national level and local, because, local levels, you've got school board, city council, commissioner courts. You've got a lot of things that go all the way up to your congressmen and congresswomen. So we need to change a lot of things. And I think even though Biden is in office and he's messed things up so bad, I think with the SCOTUS rulings moving in the right directions, if we can get this midterm locked in and close the border, close our southern border, and open up the pipelines and the drilling and the leases, we can turn this country around within months, 6 months, 12 months. And if we can do that, we will just hit the ground running and leave those Democrat, socialists, Marxists in the dust. And it's time.
Well, and that's, if you remember in 2017 when Trump took office, that's what he did. He got in there, basically flipped the switch, and as quick as anybody's ever seen, he turned the entire economy around, only for it to be decimated by the Chinese communists and their COVID virus.
We just have to keep the rhinos from grabbing our suit jacket and trying to hold back what's coming. Because that's, to me, looking at what's coming in the midterms, that's the only thing that's going to hold the Republicans back, is we're going to have to hold ourselves back. So as far as the rhinos go, you're going to have to just get them out of the way, shove them out of the way. Don't even spend time arguing with them. Just get them out of the way, get the next guy, and let's move forward and turn this country around.
And it starts at those school boards. We talk about it all the time. Yep. That's one of the most underappreciated spots in all of government because of the ramifications their decisions have.
We let it go.
And we let it go for too long. But I tell you, I think this November, any contest that we have, if I were running even in a nonpartisan race, I'd still declare Republican.
You almost have to nowadays with all the book and all the smut and everything going on in schools. But it being the 4th of July weekend, please have a safe 4th of July. Spend it with your family, have some good food, and remember, it's time to get out, step up, and it's time to stand up for your values and keep all this drag queen hour and all this stuff away from your kids and get with the nuclear family and have a safe 4th.